Hi everybody, my name is Lucy. I'm an educator at the Green Bank Observatory, and usually this is where I say, today I'm going to tell you some fun things you're going to be able to see in the night sky in November, or whatever month the video comes out. But today I want to talk a little bit about some stargazing basics, some basic ideas and some basic tips for people who are just starting out stargazing, who haven't really done it before and might want to try. So let's get started. The first thing you are going to want to do when you're stargazing is figure out when and where you want to go look at the stars. Obviously you want to do them at night. So we're going to pick a night, but there are some nights that are better for stargazing than others. And what you're wanting to look for when you're looking for a good date to go stargazing is you want to look for a crescent or a new moon. If you have a full moon or a gibbous moon, which is that football-shaped moon, that bright light coming from the moon or reflecting off of the moon is going to wash out a whole lot of the fun things that you want to see. It'll wash out planets, it'll wash out the Milky Way, it'll wash out stars, and you don't really want to, you want to have as dark a sky as possible when you're doing stargazing. So you are going to want to look for a date that has a new moon or a crescent moon. Now, you've probably heard a whole lot of scary things about light pollution. Now, if you're just starting out stargazing, I wouldn't worry too much about light pollution. I grew up right outside of DC, which has some pretty strong light pollution. You can see maybe a couple stars, a couple planets in the sky on any night, but that really helped me, to be honest. When you're out in these really dark West Virginia skies, there are millions and millions of stars that you can see, and it sort of makes it difficult to pick out the brighter planets or to pick out the brighter stars and find what you're looking for. So if you are just starting out stargazing, I would suggest just going out into your backyard or someplace that doesn't have like a street light. Turn off the lights in your house and just look up and see what you can find. If you are looking to get the best view possible, you're going to want to go out when it's cold, because high temperatures actually sort of makes the atmosphere a little hazy. You're going to want to go for a new moon, and you are going to want to get as high up in elevation as possible, on the top of a mountain maybe, or on a roof. And this is because the higher up you are, the less atmosphere you have to deal with. So if you're way down low at sea level or below sea level, all of the light that's coming in from space has to get a lot farther to get to your eyeballs than if you're up on a mountain or on the roof or on a patio looking up. Second thing you're going to want to think about is how you're going to dress. Now, if you want to do some stargazing in the wintertime, it's going to be cold, bring a coat, bring several layers. So if it's a little warmer than you expected, you can take off a layer. And you're going to want to think about some other gear that you might want to bring. I always print out a sky map beforehand, and let me show you my favorite place to get a sky map is skymaps.com, pretty easy to remember. If you go to their downloads, let me show you how to do that, because they sort of hide the link, but if you go to the download now link, you can download a northern hemisphere or a close to the equator or a southern hemisphere map. I am in West Virginia, so I'm going to go for the northern hemisphere. And my favorite thing about this map here is that it actually shows you what things you can see with your naked eye, what things you can see with sort of low-powered binoculars, and what things you can see with a telescope. So if you go down here, you have easily seen with the naked eye, that's just your eyeballs. If you have some binoculars, what you can see the Andromeda Galaxy, you can see some fun globular clusters, I can never pronounce that word. And then if you have some telescopic objects that you'd be able to see if you have a telescope. So if I don't feel like bringing my telescope out one night, I'm just going to look for the binocular or the easily seen with the naked eye stuff. And now how you look at one of these is pretty simple. You point the north towards the north direction, and you look at it like this. So it's not down, it's not a mirror image from the sky. It's the exact picture of the sky. And then, of course, Sky Maps has these lovely calendars that tell you when the new moon that month is going to be, where Venus is going to be, when you can see Venus, when the Leonid meteor showers are going to be. There's going to be some fun stuff going on near Jupiter and Saturn and the moon. And they put that all on this map. So I'll just print this out so I know what I'm looking at. Now, I talked a little bit about binoculars when we were talking about the things that are on these sky maps. But I do want to be pretty clear here. You don't need binoculars. You don't need a telescope to do good stargazing. Telescopes are sort of, I don't want to say unnecessary, but they're a big purchase and you don't really need them. A cheap pair of binoculars will take you a long way, and telescopes are a little complicated. You have to figure out which eyepiece you want to use, and the mirrors sometimes get like foggy and you have to deal with that. It's a whole thing, and they're just a lot. But if you have just your eyeballs or even some low power binoculars, you'll be able to see some cool stuff in the sky. You do not have to have a telescope in order to pick out, for example, the moons of Jupiter. You can see those with bird watching glasses. Now, I always look on Earth Sky. They have a Tonight tab that you can just go to and see what's going to be up tonight. And then Sky and Telescope also has a pretty good interactive sky chart that they have. You can just click on and it'll show you what you can see from your zip code and at what time. Now, the last thing that I check for before I go out stargazing is what's going on with the International Space Station, because I love seeing the International Space Station drift across the sky. And you can actually, they have a website, NASA does, spotthestation.nasa.gov, that'll tell you where your next sighting of this space station will be, how to find it, and even if you do see it, they have a way for you to log your observation of the space station. So you can see what other people are doing, how other people are seeing the International Space Station, where they've seen it. It's a really great resource. It'll look like a little, pretty bright, sometimes it's blinking, sometimes it's not, object just crossing your field of view. This is another thing that I like to use binoculars for instead of a telescope, because telescopes you sort of have to physically move them unless you have a really expensive one to track the International Space Station. But with binoculars you can just sort of follow it. So you have your sky map, you have your binoculars, and you have your jacket. You go outside, you know what phase the moon is in, you know when the International Space Station is going to be out. What do you do next? So a lot of people will go outside, they'll look up and they can't see anything, so they go back inside. We have these amazing things called eyeballs, right? And they will actually adjust to darkness in the sky. They will get more sensitive by dilating your pupils. the longer you're outside. It takes about 60 minutes for your pupils to dilate all the way and for your eyes to fully adjust. Now, for me personally, once I'm outside for 5 to 10 minutes, I start to see a lot more than I did when I first came out. And that's just because it takes a couple minutes for your eyes to adjust to the dark. So be patient when you first get outside. If you want to use a flashlight to look at your sky map, that might cause an issue as well, because your flashlight is going to ruin your night vision. It's going to make your pupils contract really fast because that's a lot of light coming into your eyeballs, and then your night vision will be ruined. So what I suggest is getting a pretty faint, low power flashlight and either putting some red filter paper on it or painting or getting nail polish, red nail polish, and painting over that lens of the flashlight. And red light won't ruin your night vision as much as other colors. So a lot of people are using apps or computers now to figure out what's going on in the sky. There are millions and millions of apps on the Play Store and the iTunes Store that will tell you where things are and where you're pointing. You can point your phone up and it'll tell you what you're looking at. Now, these are great. However, I have a problem with them because my phone doesn't get dim enough to where my screen will not ruin my night vision, even if it has a red filter over it. So I like to, maybe I'm old-fashioned, I like to print out my maps and then use my handy-dandy little flashlight that has some red coating on it, some red nail polish on it. That's what I use. If you have a phone that can get pretty dim so it won't ruin your night vision, go ahead and use it. I prefer to use a paper map instead. Now, sometimes when you're looking at objects, you're looking at your map and you're looking up at the sky and you're trying to figure out what's going on. It can be a little confusing. So there's a couple hard and fast rules that'll help you figure out what you're looking at. And the main one is if it sparkles, it's a star. If you see that scintillation, if it's twinkling, you're seeing a star. If it's not twinkling, if you're just seeing one spot of light that's not twinkling at all, it's not scintillating is the word we use, scintillating, it's going to be a planet. So you can always sound really smart if someone points up and says, oh, that's a bright star, and you look up and you say it's not, and you see it's not twinkling, you can say, oh, that's not a star, that's a planet. It always impresses people just to be able to have that little bit of knowledge. Now, you've seen a couple planets, you've seen some, maybe the International Space Station, you've seen what you came outside to see. Your hot chocolate is getting cold, you're getting cold. So you go inside, what do you do next? What do you do after your stargazing? Now, I always like to engage in some community science. This is also called citizen science. I like the word community better. So this community science, there are a whole bunch of different opportunities, but I'm just going to talk about two of them today. The first is, of course, the International Space Station Spot the Station program. So if you spot the station, you can go onto this website and tell NASA that you saw the station. And this actually helps them track where it's going. The second project that we've actually partnered with at the Green Bank Observatory is the Globe at Night program. You know, the Globe at Night program is really good at getting people together to map the darkness of the sky in different places. So figure out the best places to do stargazing, where you can see the Milky Way, where you can't, where you can see different stars, where you can't. And they have this whole, where is it? report tab where you can go in and tell them what you saw. If you saw this many stars outside, you had some really bright stars, get rid of that, your light pollution is pretty low, and they can add that to their database. If you live in DC or New York or LA or Hong Kong, places with a lot of light pollution, you might only be able to see Venus. And that will help them map light pollution as well. So those are some quick little tips about what you can and cannot do with stargazing. Some tips to have a good stargazing experience. I hope you guys go outside at night sometime this month, maybe in the new moon or in the crescent moon, and check out some fun stuff. There's a whole universe of stuff to look at outside, and it's an incredible experience just to be able to go outside and look up and see the universe with your own eyeballs. So thank you guys for watching this video. There's a couple things I want to talk about and plug before we go. So the first thing I want to plug is, of course, our website. If you go to the Education tab, we have a Try It at Home page. Now this has a whole bunch of radio astronomy activities. And then if you keep going, we have some Family Science Lab activities. Of course, follow us on all of the social medias. You found this video, so I'm sure you're following us on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, but you should follow us anywhere you have an account, because we've got some great content out there. Last thing I have to plug is, of course, our gift shop. We've got some fun stuff. I'm actually wearing a gift shop shirt under this, but it had a green alien on it, and I have a green screen, so I can't wear it without you guys seeing through my body, and that would be weird, so I'm wearing my fleece over it. But we have some amazing stuff if you're looking for holiday presents, if you're looking to get some Green Bank Observatory merch. We have some really cool stuff in our shop. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you all have a great night and some clear skies. See you next time.